Show. Forgive me for being 5 minutes tardy. Um, some hormonal stuff is happening with a sister girl, so be patient with me, okay? uh, so I just finished making me a snack. This right here. I want to talk about it really briefly before I get online. Well, before I get online, before I get into the podcast. It is Soulful Sunday, so welcome to Soulful Sunday here at the Super Tea Podcast Show. So I love popcorn. I love popcorn. And so when I seen this inside of Whole Food, I thought this was, I love this. So I'm gonna get it. And I am gonna snack on it. But let me tell you, these kernels are itsy bitsy. This is not regular popcorn. This is teeny tiny popcorn. So teeny tiny, I didn't even hear it popping, and I was in the kitchen with it. Okay? I was in the kitchen with it. I didn't hear no pop, 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 pop. This stuff was going pip, 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 pip. And luckily, I turned around. Okay? Because if not, we had all charcoal popcorn. But anyway, I just had to share that with y'all. We are still in Evolve the Brain by Joe Dispenza. It's hard to read and chew at the same time. So I don't know why while I was laying down, I thought this was a great idea. Nonetheless, they are tasty. They are satisfying my desire to have something crunchy. My chips are gone. And all I got is this little teeny tiny popcorn. Now I'm gonna enjoy this teeny tiny popcorn. And we're gonna get into this book. It's been a very busy week for me. I have been decompressing since Friday. Because I did a lot of peopling. I stretched myself socially, people. I went to mixers and I spoke to people, I approached people, I networked with people. Mm-hmm. It's pretty awesome. Shout out to Equal Space. They're the ones who hosted Small Business Week. And I'm going to take one more handful, I promise. They're like, we thought this was Soulful Sunday. What is going on to SupaTea? Listen. Shout out to all my sisters who talk about this wonderful time past 40, okay? Let the body do what the heck it want to do. Be happy, I'm calm, cool, and collected, okay? And funny. Speaking of funny, I did some jokes the other day. I felt it. My spidey senses are getting stronger, people. That's one of the good parts about getting older. I know I said that was my last handful, right? I feel. One of the good parts about aging gracefully is your spidey senses get stronger. My spidey senses were strong. I said it to my family member of mine. I said, girl, I got a feeling they gonna put me on the spot. I had never even met the lady before that did. That part. Mm. I threw some seasoning on these popcorn. They're very flavorful. I don't know who else like barbecue. It's not barbecue sauce on there. But you know how when you put something on the grill It got that charcoal taste to it. I don't know how I achieved that without having charcoal, but I did. That's because it started to get a little overcooked at the bottom. Anyway, welcome in. Mmm, it was so tasty. I normally have my telephone inside of my ring light, but my ring light is over there. So I said, I'm going to sit it next to the speaker, and I like it there. I like it there. It fits perfectly. I mean, I wasn't looking to show as much of me. Normally it's like more like kind of like neck up. But okay, it works. You see my podcasting area? Looking all podcastish. Let's get the microphone down. I know I need to be in here playing with my stuff, getting it to work, because it does work. Stuff is new. This one is new. My other mic has some years on it, but it's not because it's been used. It's because I purchased it years ago. But yeah, aesthetically, we're doing it. Functionality, getting there. Oh my. But I should just finish the popcorn, right? At this point. Anywho, welcome, 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 welcome. It is the SupaTea podcast show. I'm gonna jump right in because I got just an hour for you all. I took on a new project on a new platform that has a requirement of 2 hours, at least 2 hours every time you go on. Well, something like that. No, it's at least 30 minutes. Thank you for the thumbs up. We're about to get into the book. We are in this book right here, Evolve Your Brain. That is what welcome in. Thank you. That is what Soulful Sundays is about. So thank you for the taps. I'm just chit-chatting before I open up the book, because I'm over 40 and it's my prerogative to listen to my body. My body said, grab a snack so you don't go on there hangry, because I didn't have a meal yet today. And it's 3 o'clock. Thank you for tapping the screen. It's 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So that's, like the end of the day almost. All right. So we left off on page 51. You can watch all of the previous episodes to catch up if you like to, or you can go and get the audiobook yourself. It's called Evolve Your Brain. It's by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And without any further ado, I'm jumping right in. Page 51. Coincidence number 4. We are capable of paying attention so well that we can lose track of relative space and time. The people I interviewed knew that others before them had cured their own diseases, so they believed that healing was possible for them too. But they did not leave their healing up to chance. Hoping and wishing would not do the trick. Merely knowing what they had to do was not enough. Healing required these rare individuals to change their mind permanently and intentionally create the outcomes they desired. Each person had to reach a state of absolute decision, utter will, inner passion, and complete focus. As Dean put it, you just have to make up your mind. This approach requires great effort. The first step for all of them was the decision to make this process the most important thing in their life. This meant breaking away from their customary schedules, social activities, television viewing habits, and so on. Had they continued to follow their habitual routines, they would have continued being the same person. who had manifested illness. To change, to cease being the person they had been, they could no longer do the things they had typically done. Instead, these mavericks sat down every day and began to reinvent themselves. They made this more important than doing anything else, devoting every moment of their spare time to this effort. Everyone practiced becoming an objective observer of his or her old familiar thoughts. They refused to allow anything but their intentions to occupy their mind. You may be thinking, that's pretty easy to do. It ain't. When faced with a serious health crisis, it ain't easy to do it all, whether you got a crisis or not. After all, my own life is in my own hands. Well, aren't most of us suffering from some affliction, physical, emotional, or spiritual, that affects the quality of our life? Don't these ailments deserve the same kind of focused attention? Certainly, these folks had to wrestle with limiting beliefs, self doubt, and fears. They had to deny both their familiar internal voices and the external voices of other people, especially when these voices urge them to worry and to focus on the predicted clinical outcome of their condition. Nearly everyone commented that this level of mind is not easy to attain. They had never realized how much chatter occupies the untrained mind. At first, they wondered what would happen if they began to fall into habitual thought patterns. Would they have the strength to stop themselves from going back to their old ways? Could they maintain awareness of their thoughts throughout their day? But with experience, they found that whenever they reverted to being their former self, they could detect this and interrupt that program. The more they practiced paying attention to their thoughts, the easier this process became, and the better they felt about their future. Feeling peaceful and calm, soothed by a sense of clarity, a new self emerged. Interestingly, all the subjects reported experiencing a phenomena that became part of their new life. During extended periods of introspection on reinventing themselves, they became so involved in focusing on the present moment and on their intent that something remarkable happened. They completely lost track of their body, time, and space. Nothing was real to them except their thoughts. Let me put this into perspective. Our everyday conscious awareness is typically involved with three things. First, we are aware of being in a body. Our brain receives feedback on what is happening within the body and what stimuli it is receiving from our environment. And we describe what the body feels in terms of physical sensations. Second, we are aware of our environment. The space around us is our connection to external reality. We pay attention to the things, objects, people, places, and our surroundings. Third, we have a sense of time passing. We structure our life within the concept of time. However, when people inwardly focus through serious self reflective contemplation, when they are mentally rehearsing new possibilities of who they could become, they are capable of becoming so immersed in what they are thinking about that at times their attention is completely detached from their body and their environment. This seems to fade away or disappear. Even the concept of time vanishes. Not that they are thinking about time, but after such periods when they open their eyes, they expect to find that just a minute or two has elapsed, only to discover that hours have gone by. At these moments, we don't have to worry about problems, nor do we feel pain. We disassociate from the sensations of our body and the associations to everything in our environment. We can get so involved in the creative process that we forget about ourselves. When this phenomena happens, These individuals are aware of nothing but their thoughts. In other words, the only thing that is real to them is the awareness of what they are thinking. Nearly all have expressed this in similar words. I would go to this other place in my mind, one subject said, where there was no distractions, there was no time, I had no body, there was no thing, nothing except my thoughts. In effect, they became a nobody, a no thing, and no time. They left a present association with being a somebody, the you or self, and they became a nobody. In this state, as I was to learn, these individuals could begin to become exactly what they were imagining. The human brain, through the frontal lobe, has the ability to lower the volume to or even shut out the stimuli from the body and the environment, as well as the awareness of time. The latest research in functional brain scan technology has proven that when people are truly focused and concentrating, the brain circuits associated with time, space, and the feelings, moments, sensory perceptions of the body literally quiet down. As human beings, we have the privilege to make our thoughts more real than anything else. And when we do, the brain records those impressions in the deep folds of its tissues. Mastering this skill is what allows us to begin to rewire our brain and change our life. There is a section here. What is attention? Let's get into it before we continue on to the next page. Some of the most recent findings in neuroscience suggest that to change the brain's architecture, we have to pay attention to the experience in a given moment. Passive stimulation of our brain circuits without our paying attention to the stimulus and without putting awareness on what is being processed causes no internal changes in the brain. For example, you might hear a family member vacuuming in the background while you read this book. But if this stimulus is not important to you, you will not attend to it. Instead, you will continue reading. Where you are reading in what you are reading in the moment is more important to you. Therefore, your attention is selectively activating different circuits in the brain while other unimportant data are being filtered out. So, what is attention? When you pay attention to any one thing, you are putting all your awareness on whatever you are attending to while ignoring all other information that might be available for your senses and your body to process and feel. You can also hinder random stray memories. You inhibit your mind from wandering to thoughts about what's for dinner, memories of last Christmas, or even fantasies about your coworker. I'm sorry. Oh, that was funny to me. You restrain your mind from acting or doing anything other than what you have set as an important intention. You really could not survive without this ability to select certain things for attention. Your ability to select a small fraction of information. If y'all new to this channel, I have no poker face, so it is what it is. You gotta get what you get over here at the SupaTea podcast show, okay? Back to the book. Just had to put that disclaimer out there. Your ability to select a small fraction of information for attention depends on the brain's frontal lobe. As the frontal lobe allows you to place sustained attention on any one thing, such as reading these pages, it turns off other brain circuits that have to do with modalities like hearing, tasting, moving your legs, feeling your butt on the couch, feeling the pain in your head, and even feeling bladder fullness. Therefore, the better you are at paying attention to your internal mental imagery, the more you can rewire your brain and the easier it is to control other circuits in the brain that process familiar sensory stimulation. In other words, attention is a skill. Okay. Well, thank you. This is a insert that I just read right here. Seems to be an article. It doesn't say who wrote the article. but I'm pretty sure they separated it like that for a reason. Maybe to focus your attention on it as the reader, uh, perhaps. Now let's continue. Other commonalities. Although not as fundamentally important as the four elements previously covered, several other minor points of intersection emerged among the experiences of my interviewees. I'll limit the discussion here to two. The first is that these subjects knew, on some deeper level and to a greater degree of certainty, that they were healed. They didn't need any kind of diagnostic test to let them know this, even though many of them underwent tests proving that they were healed. The second commonality is that several doctors thought their patients' choice to forego conventional methods to be insane. Equally, the cured patients, medical doctors didn't believe them when they first revealed what they knew to be true. In some ways, the doctor's response is understandable. In others, it is deeply regrettable. However, most doctors, when reviewing the changed objective finding, frequently said, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever you're doing, keep doing it. The new frontier in brain research. Investigations into spontaneous healings ignited my intent to learn all I could about the brain. There has never been a more exciting time than the present to pay attention to what neuroscientists are learning about this remarkable organ. Some of the recent findings on how the brain facilitates thought may lead to knowledge that we could apply to create positive new outcomes in our bodies and in our lives. You know, they say you only use a small percentage. So, what these neuroscientists are finding out is ways to use more percentages. hmm And discovering phenomenal features, which, in my opinion, were things that Yeshua ben Yosef, or as people like to commonly call him, Jesus the Christ, was communicating to people. People thought it was supernatural stuff that he was communicating, but in reality, he was communicating ways of how our body functions and our innate abilities to change things around us and also within us. And these are things that we all are naturally born with. And if we focus, we're able to do. So I'm so glad that we now have the technology and the scientists that are merging the two together, which if you listen to my good brother Michael Beckwith, you will hear him talk about often in his teachings. They have the proof now. So it's not no longer, oh, woo woo, and oh, you have to be, because remember, Yeshua ben Yosef, universal. He was not a Christian. And even the word itself, Christ, means enlightenment. So it means he knew, he was aware, and he communicated the truth to folks in the best way possible at that time. And now, in these times, 2026, we, millennia afterwards, right? We have the ability to test these things and see the evidence of these things in this day and age. People think, oh, miracles are not happening and da 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 da. Oh, there's a lot of supernatural stuff that is happening more so now than then. Okay? Let's continue though. Most of us went who went through school 20 or more years ago, and this book was written. Let's see where this book was written or published. 2007. So this book is 20 years old. So can you imagine what they're doing now? They're doing a whole bunch of shit now, okay? And I'll tell you they're doing a whole bunch of stuff now. They're doing a whole bunch of stuff. And that's why so much stuff is free. Television and, I mean, regular TV was always free, I guess. The cable and movies and all that stuff, because if you're watching and you're ingesting certain things, those things are going into your mind. They're just being programmed. So that's why I personally like to take time away from technology and just shut it off. Now, sometimes I do have stuff, or if I'm utilizing it with wisdom, where I am choosing the programs intentionally by what their substance is and what the message is to play, so that I am I am the one that's choosing the programming. But even that, you gotta be mindful of, because you want to think for yourself. And when I say think for yourself, I mean you want to support the thoughts that you are organically creating for yourself. So you can utilize television, music as a tool to support it, but it shouldn't be um, the primary programmer. You should be the primary programmer of your own mind and the primary creator of your own life. Most of us who went through school 20 or more years ago were taught that the brain is hardwired, meaning that we were born with nerve cell connections in our brain that predestined us to display predispositions, traits, and habits inherited from our parents. Back then, the prevailing scientific view was that the brain is unchangeable and that our genetic predispositions leave us with few choices and little control over our destiny. Certainly, all humans have portions of our brain that are hardwired in the same ways, so that we all share the same physical structure and functions. However, research is beginning to verify that the brain is not as hardwired as we once thought. We now know that any of us at any age can gain new knowledge, process it in the brain, and formulate new thoughts, and that this process will leave new footprints in the brain. That is, new synaptic connections develop, and that's what learning is. In addition to knowledge, the brain also records every new experience. When we experience something, our sensory pathways transmit enormous amounts of information to the brain regarding what we are seeing, smelling, tasting, hearing, and feeling. In response, neurons in the brain organize them cells into networks of connections that reflect the experience. These neurons also release chemicals that trigger specific feelings. Every now, every new rather occurrence produces a feeling, and our feelings help us remember an experience. The process of forming memories is what sustains those new neural connections on a more long-term basis. Memory, then, is simply a process of maintaining new synaptic connections that we form via learning. Science is investigating how repetitive thought strengthens these neurological connections and affect the way in which our brain works. In addition to what we've already discussed about mental rehearsal, some other intriguing studies have shown that the process of mental rehearsal, thinking over and over about doing something without physically involving the body, not only creates changes in the brain, but can also modify the body. For example, when test subjects visualize themselves lifting weights with a particular finger over a period of time, the finger that they imagined lifting with actually became stronger. Wait, hold up, wait a minute now. Hold up, wait a minute. Don't give me no ideas. Don't give me no ideas. Don't give me no ideas. Too late. Too late. Contrary to the myth of the hardwired brain, we now realize that the brain changes in response to every experience, every new thought, and every new thing that we learn. This is called plasticity. They have a science called neuroplasticity. Researchers are compiling evidence that the brain has the potential to be moldable and pliable at any age. The more I study, this is why you have grandmas twerking. This is why. Neuroplasticity. This is the reason why you like, well, mama's 70 years old in the kitchen twerking. This is why. And I ain't mad at her. It's her body. If she chooses it to work, let us work. Researchers, I'm going to read this over, are compiling evidence that the brain has the potential to be moldable and pliable at any age. The more I studied new findings on brain plasticity, the more fascinated I became to learn that certain information and skills seem to be the ingredients for selectively changing the brain. The brain's plasticity is its ability to reshape, remold, and reorganize itself well into our adult life. For example, expert violinists show a remarkable enlargement in the somatosensory cortex, the brain region assigned to the sense of touch. Ooh. Remarkable enlargement. Oh, mine must be very large. Let me stop. But this holds true only for the fingers of the left hand, which moves around the neck of the instrument compared to the fingers of the right hand, which holds the bow. Scientists compared the two halves of the brain that controlled the violinist's sense of touch. Coming from both sides of the body, it became apparent that the compartment of the brain assigned to the left hand fingers of the violinist had become larger in size than the normal size compartment for the fingers of the other hand. As late as the 1980s, the notion prevailed that the brain is fixed and hardwired into neatly organized compartments. Neuroscientists now understand that the brain is continuously reorganizing itself throughout each person's daily life. There is also interesting evidence to dispel a long held myth about nerve cells. For decades, scientists have thought that nerve cells were unable to divide and replicate themselves. We have heard that the number of neurons we are born with is fixed throughout our lifetime, and that once nerve cells are damaged, they can never be replaced. Lies, lies, lies. Oh, I'm going to finish reading the book. These beliefs are now being challenged. In fact, recent studies suggest that the normal, healthy adult brain can generate new brain cells. This process is called neurogenesis. Look it up. Don't just take my word for it or the words of Joe Dispenza. Research over the last few years, because this is 20 years ago, so you know they got more evidence about this neurogenesis stuff. New brain cells. Another reason why grandma is in the kitchen working. Research over the last few years has shown that when mature nerve cells are damaged in a particular part of the brain called the hippocampus, oh gosh, we know what this is. Hippocampus. They are naturally capable of repairing and regenerating. Repairing and regenerating. Repairing and regenerating. Not only can certain damaged parts of the brain be restored, but new evidence now suggests that a fully mature adult brain can produce additional nerve cells every freaking day. Learning to juggle may actually cause specific areas of the brain to grow, according to a study published in the journal Nature in January 2004. We've known from functional brain scans that learning can cause changes in brain activity, but this particular study demonstrated that anatomical changes can occur as a result of learning something new. German researchers at the University of Regensburg recruited 24 people who were non-jugglers and divided them into two even groups. One was assigned to practice juggling for 3 months. The control group did no juggling. Before and after the first group learned to juggle, the scientists conducted brain scans on all volunteers using magnetic resonance imaging, MRIs. In addition, rather than limiting their investigation to changes in brain activity, the researchers used a sophisticated analyst technique called voxel-based morphology to detect structural changes in the gray matter of the neocortex. The thickness of our gray matter reflects the total number of nerve cells in our brain. Subjects who acquired the skill of juggling had a measurable increase in gray matter in two separate areas of the brain that are involved in visual and motor activity. The scientists documented an increased volume and higher density of gray matter in these areas. The study suggests that the adult brain may have some ability to grow new nerve cells. Dr. Vanessa Slumming, a senior medical imager at the University of Liverpool in England, commented that what we do in everyday life may have an impact not on just how our brain functions, but on the structure at a microscopic level. It's interesting to note that those people who later stopped juggling had their enlarged brain areas return to normal size within 3 months. Oh, shit. Even meditation has shown promising results in changing not only how the brain works by altering brain wave patterns, but also by growing new brain cells that are the product of inner mindful attentiveness. Studies published in November 2005 in the journal Neuro Report. I want to get that journal. I'll probably get it online, even though I like stuff printed. Demonstrated increased gray matter in 20 participants, all with extensive training in Buddhist insight meditation. Here's the best part of the study. Most of the participants were average, normal people with jobs and family who meditated only 40 minutes a day. You don't have to be a holy man or woman to make more brain cells. Researchers in the study also are suggesting that meditation may slow age-related thinning of the frontal cortex. According to research by Fred Gage of the Salk Institute for Biological Studies in La Jolla, California, mice that lived in enriched environments where they could stimulate their minds and bodies showed a 15% increase in their total number of brain cells compared to mice in conventional rodent surroundings. Furthermore, in October 1998, Gage and a group of Swedish researchers demonstrated for the first time that human brain cells have regenerative capabilities. That's good news for y'all who is damaging your brain cells. If you stop doing the damage, you can regenerate the motherfuckers. That part right there. Pause for a snack break right quick. That's phenomenal. That's absolutely phenomenal. So you know the possibility. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. Research with out of injury hope. Research with stroke patients is providing some of the most exciting evidence of the brain's potential to change. When a cerebrovascular accident, a stroke, occurs in the brain, the sudden decrease in the supply of oxygenated blood damages neurological tissue. Many times, a stroke injury to a specific part of the brain associated with the arm or leg leaves the patient without motor control of their limbs. The traditional thinking has been that if a stroke patient shows no improvement within the first week or two, the paralysis will be permanent. Numerous studies are now exploding this myth. Stroke patients who were technically past the recovery period, even patients in their 70s who have been paralyzed for up to 20 years have been able to regain some motor control that they had not had since their strokes. And they were able to maintain these improvements long term. I've seen somebody talk that was, I believe it was a younger person. I don't know what type of injury it was, but they were paralyzed, and I seen them recover from their paralysis. Yes, I did. 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 So this stuff is accurate. It's accurate. And if a person can recover from paralysis, could imagine paralysis, your muscles, like more than just a few muscles, had atrophied. Then then. Good to know. mm. And certain research experiments in the late 1970s at the Department of Neurology at Bellevue Hospital in New York City, up to 75% of the subjects achieved total restoration and the control of their paralyzed arm or leg. Repetition was the key to their ability to rewire their brain. With the proper instructions, the subjects diligently practiced focusing their mind while mentally moving a paralyzed limb. They received mental feedback through sophisticated biofeedback machines. When they became able to reproduce the same brain pattern when thinking about moving their affected limbs as they did when moving their well limbs, they began to reverse their paralysis. One similar brain pattern was produced when initiating movement to the affected limb. The brain patterns were produced when initiating a movement to the affected limb. The volunteers, excuse me, were able to increase the strength of the neurological signal to their paralyzed arm or leg, which made it move to a greater degree, independent of age and the duration of the injury. Their brain showed an amazing ability to learn new things and restore the body to a higher level of function just by applying mental will. The brain, the matter of mind, and the intertwined mystery. The positive results that stroke patients have achieved might make you wonder what increased attention and daily training could do to enhance the brain in healthy individuals, given the proper knowledge and instructions. This is one of those situations where one question leads to another, which leads to yet another. But we'll start with this. If the physical structure of the brain is damaged, what does that say about the condition of the mind? You've probably heard of people identified as savants who suffer some affliction of the brain, yet possess a mind capable of astounding feats. Ultimately, the question we must ask is this: what is the mind, and what is the relationship between the brain and the mind? As the organ having the greatest number of neurons gathered together, the brain facilitates through impulses, both consciously and subconsciously, and acts to control and coordinate both physical and mental functions. Without the brain, no other system in the body could operate. Sir Julian Huxley, a British biologist during the early parts of the 1900s and author of several writings relating to evolution, must have foreseen this question. Is the brain a good enough explanation for describing the mind? His answer is paramount in the history of biology. The brain alone is not responsible for mind, he said. Even though it is a necessary organ for its manifestation, indeed, an isolated brain is a piece of biological nonsense, as meaningless as an isolated individual. He knew that there must be another component to the mind. From the time I was a freshman in college, I always found it fascinating to study the mind. My biggest quandary as an undergraduate was that certain fields of psychology attempted to use the mind to know and observe the mind. This was somewhat troubling to me because it seemed like conjecture to study the mind without studying the organ that produces the mind. It's like watching a car run but never looking under the hood to see what's making it run. Studying behavior is essential for our observations, but I often wondered if we could actually observe a living functioning brain, what would we learn about what was really happening with the mind? After all, the brain of a deceased person can only tell us so much. Studying the lifeless anatomy of the brain in order to gather information about how it works is like trying to learn about how a computer operates without turning it on. The only tool we have for truly understanding the mind has been to observe the workings of the living human brain. Now that we have the technology to observe a living brain, we know from functional brain scans that the mind is the brain in action. This is the latest definition of mind according to neuroscience. When a brain is alive and active, it can process thought, demonstrate intelligence, learn new information, master skills, recall memories, express feelings, refine movements, invent new ideas, and maintain the orderly functioning of the body. The animated brain can also facilitate behavior, dream, perceive reality, argue beliefs, be inspired, and most important, embrace life. In order for the mind to exist, then the brain must be alive. Excuse me. Ooh, that was a good one. The brain is therefore not the mind, it is the physical apparatus through which the mind is produced. A healthy, functioning brain makes for a healthy mind. The brain is a biocomputer that has three individual anatomical structures with which it produces different aspects of the mind. The mind is the result of a brain that is coordinating through thought, rather, impulses through its various regions and substructures. There are many diverse states of mind because we can easily make the brain work in different ways. The brain facilitates the mind as an intricate data processing system so that we have the ability to gather, process, store, recall, and communicate information within seconds if need be, as well as the capacity to forecast, hypothesize, hypothesize rather, respond, behave, plan, and reason. The brain is also the control center through which the mind organizes and coordinates all the metabolic functions necessary for life and survival. When your biocomputer is turned on or alive, it is functioning by processing information. The mind is produced. According to our working neuroscientific definition, the mind then is not the brain. It is the product of the brain. The mind is what the brain does. We can be aware of the machine in operation, the mind, without being the machine, the brain. When the brain is animated with life, the mind is processed through the brain. Essentially, the mind is the brain animated. Without the brain, there is no mind. Advances in imaging technology. Let's see where we are at our time. We're at 48. This is getting interesting. I'm gonna for these last 10 minutes. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop here at 62 because I want to have some of my. I want to share some of my personal thoughts. This is freaking phenomenal, and I have no idea where. I mean, I know it's applicable for many reasons and in many ways for me personally, and I don't know how it is also applicable for my audience, but I'm sure those who are into this type of knowledge and you know will find where to fit it at. But as Dr. Joe Dispenza shared, with the people, if you're following, listen again to other um, episodes previous to this because I start from the beginning of the book, and we're still relatively in the beginning. We're only on page 62, and this book has 500 pages up in it. Okay? Let's learn a little bit about Dr. Joe Dispenza. There's a whole excerpt that's in the back of the book. We're going to go back here and we're going to learn a little bit about him in the last 2 years. So just like, who's Dr. Joe Dispenza? And nowadays with people getting honorary degrees, not saying nothing wrong with it. I ain't saying nothing wrong with it, okay? Because I got an honorary degree too. But it's different when you have actually went through, well, when you're actually a doctor. Like, he's a doctor. He ain't just an honorary doctor. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. You know? So let's oh my God. He went to my alma mater. Oh my God, I'm about to go there. Haven't decided which campus I want to go to, but anyway, let me tell you about the author, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Joe Dispenza, doctor, studied biochemistry at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, New Jersey. He has a Bachelor of Science degree with an emphasis in neuroscience from Evergreen State College in Olympia, Washington. Dr. Dispenza also received his doctor for chiropractic degree at Life University in Atlanta, Georgia, graduating magna cum laude. Dr. Dispenza's postgraduate training and continued education has been in neurology, neurophysiology, brain function and chemistry, cellular biology, memory formation, and aging and longevity. He is an invited member of Who's Who in America, an honorary member of the National Board of Chiropractic Examiners, the recipient of a clinical proficiency citation for clinical excellence and doctor-patient relationships from Life University, and a member of Phi Tau Delta, the International Chiropractic Honor Society. Over the last 10 years, Dr. Joe Dispenza has lectured in over 17 countries on 6 continents, educating people about the role and function of the human brain. He has taught thousands of people how to reprogram their thinking through scientific proven neurophysiologic principles. As a result, this information has taught many individuals to reach their specific goals and visions by eliminating self-destructive habits. His approach, taught in a very simple method, creates a bridge between true human potential and the latest scientific theories of neuroplasticity. He explains how thinking in new ways as well as changing beliefs can literally rewire one's brain. The premise of his work is founded in his total conviction that every person on this planet within them the latent potential of greatness and true unlimited abilities. Evolve Your Brain, the science of changing your mind, connects the subjects of thought and consciousness with the brain, the mind, and the body. The book explores the biology of change. That is, when we truly change our mind, there is physical evidence of change in the brain. As an author of several scientific articles on the close relationship between the brain and the body, Dr. Dispenza ties information together to explain the roles these functions play in physical health and disease. His DVD series, Your Immortal Brain, looks at the ways in which the human brain can be used to affect reality through the mastery of thought. He also sits as an invited editorial advisor of Explore magazine. In his research into spontaneous remissions, Dr. Dispenza has found similarities in people who have experienced so-called miraculous healings, showing that they have actually changed their mind, which changed their health. One of the scientists, researchers, and teachers found in the award-winning film What the Bleep Do We Know, Dr. Dispenza is often remembered for his comment on how a person can create their day. When he discussed in the film, which he discussed in the film, he also has guest appearances in the theatrical director's cut, What the Bleep Down the Rabbit Hole, as well as the extended Quantum Edition DVD set, what to bleep down the rabbit hole. When not traveling and writing, he is busy seeing patients at his chiropractic clinic near Olympia, Washington. Aw, he's an amazing soul. I saw him talk in Houston. Ooh, could be 8 years ago, 7 years ago, something around there. And you know, I didn't have the openness that I have right now. I still had to deal and get to a point where there was like just no type of fear. Um, I remember, I just remember the experience. It was phenomenal. I look forward to going to another one of his talks. Um, Definitely, yeah. I love it. I love the work he does. Um, it is my joy and my pleasure to share it here on my channel. So, shout out to Dr. Joe Dispenza. Some phenomenal research, people. Thank you for tuning in to the SupaTea podcast show. It's Soulful Sundays. So we dive deep. We don't stay on the surface. This is not um, shallow Sundays. It's called Soulful because it goes deep. All right. Again, thank you for tuning in. See you next week, 3 o'clock, same time, same place. And remember, if you've missed any episodes, they're all published here on my channel. So you can go back and see last week, see the week before last, and all of that good stuff. Please bear with me as I do my editing. Um, I don't like edit the videos or anything. The videos are live and they're published as is, but with my descriptions. So what I have done, just for time's sake and because of so many other moving parts that's going on in my life right now, is I just put Soulful Sunday and I put the date on there. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I will update that, be more specific, like, okay, I read pages, this through that, this through that. But that's going to take me actually going back, watching them over, and all of that good stuff. So we are starting back next week at page 62. That's where we left off at. You are free to go ahead if you got the book yourself. If you're listening to it on audio, you're free to do whatever the heck you want. You're your own person. But thank you again for tuning in, and thank you for watching this show. See you next week. Bye.